Okay, so I think what we'll start doing is we'll introduce who we are. And there's not such a big group, so maybe just all of us, you can unmute yourself and just tell me who you are and just a few sentences about yourself. So I'm Tracy. I am ADHD. I'm here, there, and everywhere. I'm like the air. I'm everywhere. And I've learned to manage my ADHD, and it is a superpower, but it does take consistent work. I work at it all the time, but I do celebrate my unique brain. So I'm going to introduce you to my other coaches, and then they can all tell you about themselves. So Jerry, do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Jerry is putting her mic on.
Jerry?
Sorry.
No problem.
Something died, but I'm back. And so I missed that last sentence. Just maybe start again, sorry.
That's it, but I'd like to introduce the coaches first. So,
okay, all right.
So if you want to just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you.
All right. Cool. I'm Jerry. I'm ADHD as well. I'm a registered counselor with adults and children, and I'm also a certified life coach with Tracy now. So yes, ADHD brought me to Tracy, and ADHD has encouraged me, and I used it as a superpower as well to achieve the things I wanted to achieve, to show people out there that ADHD does not necessarily mean that we have a mental capacity problem or things that we cannot achieve. It is actually something that we can use, work on the skills that we don't perhaps have, and make the correct changes in our lives to live a good, healthy, fulfilling life. And that's me.
Okay, Anita? Coach Anita?
Hi everyone, my name is Anita. I am a life skills coach, and I am now specializing in ADHD coaching. So it doesn't mean I'm only going to do that, but it is something that I really want to focus on because I have ADHD. And I'm not saying that I've got it right, but I think I have figured out the scaffolding around my life, and I've got quite a few things that I do that have really, really helped. So I believe that by sharing that, I can help other people, because it's a blessing and a curse, but once you get to fine tune it, once you figure out how your Ferrari brain works, it can do amazing things for you. So it's just tweaking, putting up the right scaffolding, getting the right people in your life. It is finding the right career, looking at your relationships. So it's definitely holistic. And it's awesome. It's something that you can really, really, I mean, if you look at all the people that have had it, Einstein and all our forefathers that have had it, it's all brilliant brains. We have amazing brains. It's just, how do we fix our brakes? How do we get our brakes right? And that's me. I'm glad to meet everyone.
Thank you, Anita. So Coach Samaya?
I'm here. I'm back in applied psychology. But spending enough time with this bunch and I think I probably picked up a few skills. For those of you having problems with your brakes, Annie came to see my car today, so you can just drop me a DM and I'll say. But yeah, that's me.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Coach Samaya. Coach Angie?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Angie Maponya. I'm a life skills coach and a John Maxwell leadership coach. I just like to be with this group of like-minded people I like all these coaches that are here. I've been with them for quite some time. I've learned a lot from them, and I know that you can also learn a lot from them. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. Coach Yolandi in the making. No, Coach Yolandi lost her voice. Coach Val, is she coming on?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Okay, all right. So welcome everybody. This is going to be done, like I said, every month. And tonight's one's just going to be for you to get to know us and to tell us what you're struggling with. So the sessions moving forward will be skill focused. And we're hoping to teach you something. So at the end of each group session, you go away with a skill that you can practically put into your life immediately, and that can help you. So in the chat box, if you want to just put down some topics that you're struggling with, and the theme is COVID and ADHD. So I'm gonna, from what I've experienced with my clients, it's one of the big things that is really taking strain with COVID is relationships. So they're very strained. Okay, so whatever the coping mechanism was to deal with the relationship, it's like no more. So especially for I find with the high school learners, is that their coping mechanisms were sports and friends. Now with COVID in the way, the sporting has stopped, and the connection to friends, the one-on-one connection to friends has also been limited. So the increase of gaming has increased, and that is becoming more connected to the computer but disconnected from normal relationships. And that's become a huge, big problem. And I don't know if any of you have actually seen between gaming and pornography addiction is very linked. So there's a thing called digital cocaine. It's a documentary on Netflix, and it actually tells you, it's very, very interesting how to go and watch it if you can. Okay, but so I'm trying to read these things too. Okay, it's very, very interesting to see how we need to make sure we have proper connections and not the disconnections to other things. So if you don't connect to people, you're going to connect to something else, and you got to be careful what you connect to. And then remember that 90% of people with ADHD have a thing called rejection sensitive dysphoria. Okay, I don't know if any of you are aware of that. So it's very, very high. So rejection sensitive dysphoria is where we actually feel we've been rejected even if we haven't been. So that even puts more strain on the relationships. Okay, so let's see what some of you are struggling with. How to deal with pressure, not to take it out on family members, anxiety and stress. Okay, dealing with hypersensitivity on the emotional side, working on not taking criticism too hard. So that's very much our rejection sensitives for you. So a very helpful way is with us, we need to learn to do the pause. So the pause is taking a step backwards. So if you all got paper and pen here, I just want you to write down this, and then I'm going to explain it to you. Okay, so I want you to write down this. Between stimulus and response. So between stimulus and response, you can complete that, coaches.
E.
She's the teacher's pet. Okay, teacher's pet. What is it? Between
Must I?
Yeah, go.
Do you want Between stimulus and response, there is a space. Is that right?
Yes.
Between stimulus and response, there is a space. And it's within that space where growth and freedom lies. So
between stimuli and response is space. In the space, we have the power to choose our response. So between stimuli and space, okay, so between stimuli and response, there's space. In the space, we have the power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and freedom. So this is a very helpful tool to use, because say Anita and I are having a conversation, and Anita and I, as you can see, we have space between the two of us. So Anita will say to me, Tracy, you are lazy. So normally, if I don't put space between Anita and I'm going to say, what? You lazy too? How can you call me lazy? I will react. Okay. But when Anita says to me, I'm lazy, I see it going up into a word bubble. Okay. Separating her and I. And then I can look at it, and it depends on the meaning I give it as to the way I will respond, not react. So everything, we have the power to choose the meaning we give our automatic thoughts. But that's using the pause. So taking a step back. So when I started practicing this, I used to actually physically take a step back to put space between me and the next person. And then I would see it go into a word bubble. And then I'd say, okay, so I could choose the meaning I give it. And the meaning I give it is a way I'm going to either react or respond. And that takes training, but that is where your power is. That is where your growth is. That is where your freedom is. So when they say nobody can make you angry unless you give them permission to, it's 100% correct. But it is training those automatic thoughts. It's saying, okay, so I choose not to give it meaning. So if that's not true, I'm going to say, that's interesting, Anita. Why did you say that? Or if it's true, I say, that is true. But how does it affect you? So we can learn the assertive response too, because a lot of the times we either passive aggressive or we aggressive. We very seldom have learned to be assertive. So I think that's one of the big skills I've been able to help my clients with within relationships, and saying, okay, so what meaning are you choosing to give this so you can remain in an emotionally stable place? So like I said,
No, it's fun, carry on.
So it's taking that step back, either in your mind or physically, look at it in a word bubble, choose what meaning you give it, and then respond instead of react. Okay, Samantha?
Just to add on what you touched there with a few of the questions here, when it comes to criticism and attaching meaning to it, I think a lot of the time when you go back and actually sit and write down what actually made you upset about the criticism, you'll find that 80 or 90% of the time you basically assume something that wasn't true. And the meaning that you attach to that is what actually caused you to become defensive of whatever the criticism is. So it's important also to have a look at that, so you can start to change your process with family members, or your attitude towards them, when you actually realize that nobody wakes up in the morning to say, you know what, good morning, today I'm going to make Anita's life miserable. Like, no one wakes up with intention. Sometimes it may come across that way, but sometimes when our thoughts allow us to run free, this is when the criticism comes in and you attach meaning to things that may not be true. And if it is true, then obviously you can then address that. In terms of the other question that says how to deal with pressure and not take it out on family members, what Tracy said is very important with regards to pausing. And that's not always easy in the moment. But then again, we're living in a time where we have very little personal space. So it's important also with this to find a personal space of your own. And I don't mean in terms of, you know, having a big room and now building an extension to your home, just a personal mental space where you take time out to yourself, so that everything is not building up to the point where your knee-jerk reaction is then to react and not respond to the person, and then, you know, react in a bad way. So have that mental space where, you know, you take time, go out in the garden, process whatever you need to, go through it, own those emotions that are irritating you. So even if it's people that are irritating you, it's important to own it and say, you know what, today my sister's an irritant and she's irritating me. Today my mom's nagging me and she's irritating me. The moment you own an emotion, it literally dilutes it in your brain so that you can respond in a less harmful way. And then the other questions, just to skate over a few things so we don't miss them, the time management issues. I noticed that a lot of the time management stuff, whether it's at home or work, procrastination is an emotional regulation issue. You know, a lot of people associate procrastination with being lazy or not being able to do something. But what we do know about people who do have ADHD is that they wouldn't hesitate with tasks that they find joy in. And a lot of the people who do have ADHD can confirm that. So what you do is, especially when it comes to work, it's to find the little joys in the task so that they become more attractive for you to do. And that will help you with your time management as well.
Well, procrastination is a stress release as well, just to, it's actually dealing with stress more than, there's so much more to it than, are you lazy, you're procrastinating. We're avoiding it because we don't want to do it, because it freaks us out. We're anxious about it. So we do something else that we like, because so it's actually, it's a stress release. And once you look at it like that, then you take away that, oh, I'm lazy. I mean, ADHD presents as laziness, and everyone's you lazy, but there's so much more to that. And what I wanted to say with, with Tracy's, the stimulus and response. So I think the key word is also triggered by our family members. We are triggering, I mean, and I see it working at the Val House. Everybody triggers each other, and then family members trigger each other. So it's knowing who triggers you, why they trigger you, what are they saying, what are those trigger words? And if you can disarm those and take that, I mean, my mom triggers me, but I know exactly where it's coming from. And now I look at it differently. So I do exactly what Tracy says. I say, okay, I'll chat to you just now when I can hear, you know, she's getting on that subject. So I take that space and I go back. And then I often message Tracy. She's saying, can you believe my mom said this? So that's my little space so that space is so important, because it gives you that time to readjust. And then when you come back, you've got to change your dance moves, because you can't fall back into the same pattern with that family member, because it's like, push this button, this is what happens. Oh, let me push. Oh, you said that. Okay, well, I'm going to press that, and that bomb's going to go off. So it's definitely triggers, how to disarm them, but you've got to know what your triggers are.
I think just to add to that, Anita, when it's so important when you talk about triggers, because it's not just people that are triggering us. We literally sometimes can take joy in pushing other people's buttons. So it's also to have that self-reflection and not just get, you know, annoyed by the person's face and existence and the fact that they can breathe. And I'm not picking on women, but women go through that at certain times of the month when it's a little bit more than usual. And so it's also important to self-reflect and look at what you've contributed to the situation, so that you can also take responsibility for that.
Absolutely. I agree completely. Jerry, you and your relationships, what's your experience?
Well, my biggest one that I always say to people is like between stimulus and response. The same happens when we want to respond with relationships with family members. And it's quite set in stone normally how we respond. And it can be quite harmful and abusive. So when we take that step back, number one, is we stop the normal trajectory of what's happening. And if that means you've basically have to put up a finger and say to the person or the family member, I'm taking a moment, and turning around and removing yourself from the situation, just so that you can get some time to take a breath and not respond in your normal unconscious behavior, which is normally the way that we hurt people, because we say things that is ugly. So I like to always say to people that it's less harm in the long term. People are not going to like it. Sometimes people are going to come after you, or if they do it with you and they turn around and they walk away, they're going to follow you. So it has to work together, and you guys have got to come to agreement to say, if somebody is feeling triggered, if you are a bit emotional that day, that is where communication comes in, and the support of your family to say, guys, I'm not having a good day, and have that support system when you do turn around and say, I'm walking away from this, where you are left till you can come back calmer and work through the situation. Don't ignore it though. Come back, have the discussion, but just get your mind under control a bit first. When you take a plate and you throw it on the ground and you pick those pieces up and you say to it, sorry, does it put the plate back together? No. Those are the same power that words have got. So instead of using the power of your mouth to break someone because we're in that moment and we want to do something, remove yourself, and you don't have to deal with that type of damage on top of everything else that's going on, because it is stressful at the moment. So that's my words of wisdom.
So it's a very good thing to remember that when there are distressing emotions, a lot of the times what we do is we have our emotional mind and then we have our rational mind. So emotional mind's this, rational mind's this, and then what comes with the part in between is your wise mind. So your emotional mind is driven by opinion, your rational mind is driven by fact. And when these distressing emotions, what happens is often we have a story and we run with a story, but it's a story, it's our story, it's opinion based. And that's why they say if you change your story, you can change your life. Because how much of your story is just your opinion? It's not fact.
Just if we could go back to the chat box.
Yeah,
there's
I'm looking.
there's a message from Christine about doing homework, and we've actually got a 17-year-old client that's an A student, but for some reason, I don't know, he's just not getting into it. I'm not sure if whether the overload of the online schooling and being at home is adding to the aggravation, because generally speaking, home is not a place to be doing schoolwork. It's, you know, it's home, you know, you're there to kick around and whatever. But what actually worked for him, I noticed this week, is just to set up a small corner in the house, just a space for him. It doesn't need to be a big space, with his water bottle, his snacks, his place for his books, and that's his time. So creating that environment also encourages the brain to start to think, okay, I'm in this spot, what I need to do here is my homework. And then to have a lot of those breaks, you know, in my day, I don't know how far back my day is, but we used to do homework and schoolwork and study for hours on end and then have very few breaks. But I think the way that life has become, in that, you know, we used to instant stuff and everything's very fast moving, I think you've got to have a lot of breaks with more intense study time. So you have a shorter study time with more breaks in between. So whether it's a boy who likes to kick around his soccer ball or whatever the case is, he can have his study time for that half an hour, 1 hour, then he can go out, kick the ball, come back to it. So I think that helps with the study stuff. And then from Cindy, she's talking about her 7-year-old son. I feel for all the parents who've got kids at home for especially this long period of time. Like, there's not a single parent who's like pulling out their hair and wishing that they can send their kids to school. I mean, I've had parents who say, you know what, I feel bad to say it, but I'll send my kid to school with or without COVID. And I can completely, I've got a 5-year-old nephew that lives with me, and I think he's extremely ADHD already, probably got it from his dad. And the thing that's been helping me, and I know it's not always easy as a parent because you've got like 15,000 things going on, but now it's become a routine where I made it a competition. So he can beat me in the morning to brush his teeth. He can beat me in the morning to get his clothes on, or whatever the case is, or, you know, make it a competition, because the only thing that excites a kid is competition. And when you forget this routine, he is going to come the next day and be like, why aren't you dressed? I beat you. And then you got to really take it seriously. Yeah, you got to really take that loss seriously. It was like, oh man, you beat me again, and I'm going to beat you tomorrow. Even when they don't want to go in the shower in the evening, you got to be like, you know what, I'm going to beat you. I'm going in the shower first, and I'm wearing blue. Let's see what color you're going to wear. And I know it's not easy to do. I know it's not easy, but trust me, after you do it a few days, it becomes routine to them. And then those things like brushing teeth in the morning and the simple basic things that should be so easy starts to become a routine for them. And in fact, they're going to start keeping you on your toes, especially a 7-year-old.
And you're making it fun. Another thing that I remembered, so Cindy, I just want to know, what meds is he on? If you can tell me, does he take Ritalin or Strattera? So it's not really a stimulant. So I don't know, Trace, you must just stop me if this is not the right forum, but I remember what Dr. Jeeva recommended, and I do it myself. So I wake up, my little dogs wake me up at about 5:30. So I go and I let them out, and I've got my Concerta by my bed. So I either take the Ritalin or the Concerta, so I alternate. He said, take it half an hour before you wake up. So you wake the child up half an hour before he's supposed to wake up, and you give him the Ritalin. Just wake him up gently, give him the Ritalin, and then that Ritalin has already started dissolving and working. And for me, that half an hour, I start kind of planning, and it just gives me that energy. Because when you're ADHD, we don't have that motivation. We don't have internal motivation. So taking that tablet, so for me, ADHD is you've got to rein it in very early in the morning. It's a monster, and you've got to control it very early on. So I wake up at 6, but I take my Concerta or Ritalin half an hour before, because then I'm lying there and I'm actually like planning my day. It gives me that sort of wake up call, and I'm like, okay, well, I've got to do this, and you'll be surprised. So you wake up with energy and motivation. I don't know, Trace, do you
so that is
remember him
something,
saying that?
yeah, so
from
Dr.
him?
Jeeva does say that, as in if you're struggling with your child, and a lot of ADHD people are nocturnal, so it's easier for them to stay up late and then struggle to get up in the morning, and especially it's difficult when it comes to schooling. And then he does say that, but I mean, that's obviously you need to discuss that with your psychiatrist. But yeah, it is a good idea. It has worked a lot and helped a lot of people so you set your alarm for 5, and next to your bed you've got your methylphenidate or your Ritalin or whatever it is, and the alarm goes off, you have a glass of water and your tablets, and 45 minutes later you're up and about. But that you need to,
it works amazingly. And he only wants to play, so he wants to do that because the other stuff is boring.
Yeah.
So ADHD, we don't want to do things that we don't want to do. We want to do things that tickle our brains. So I think it's also to understand ADHD, and it's quite tricky if you don't have it, because it just looks so bad. You look lazy and you look like you just don't have your, what together. But I think the more you learn about it, and the more you just come up with these tips and the scaffolding, so you foolproof your life. So for me, my life works, it's like clockwork. I've got routine. If one of those legs of the stools go down, if I didn't get a proper night's sleep, that whole chair is going to be wobbly the whole day. So it's also knowing your pillars. What are the pillars that are going to manage and keep you up? What are those things that are going to support you? So it's a scaffolding around you. But it's also to understand why he wants to play, because that's an ADHD brain. That excites us. We only really do things that we want to do. So you just also got to wrap your head around, of course he doesn't want to do that, because that is an ADHD brain.
There's a resource on YouTube. I'll just add it in the comment section. I think it goes on at it. I'm not sure what age it deals with, but basically it's called How to ADHD. It's by a girl named Jessica, who basically studied under Dr. Hallowell, who's basically the guru of ADHD. I'll put in the name of the YouTube channel, but basically it's ADHD, and she literally gives you like skills and tools on how to deal with every you know, struggle that you guys may be feeling. So you can have a look at that, and hopefully that might help with the kids as well. I'll just put it up here in the comment section.
One of the most powerful videos, and I love that one as well, Sumaya, but also a very good, and it's quite a long presentation, but it's by Russell Barkley. So he gives, I mean, Dr. Jeeva calls him one of the godfathers of ADHD. He has got a presentation and he puts it in a nutshell, and it actually helped me understand myself so much better. I mean, I thought I knew how my brain worked, but he scientifically explains it in a simple way, and I think every parent should watch it. I'll put the thing as well, but if you just YouTube Russell Barkley and just look at he explains it perfectly. So you'll basically say, well, they don't want to do homework because it's boring. So he also gives tips on, you know, the same as that how to ADHD.
Just add his name in the comment section for whoever wants to check it out.
Okay.
Right, if I can say something about the homework, whoever's struggling with that, let me just go back here a little bit. So I'm also the mom to a teenager. Luckily, she doesn't have ADHD, but I also work with a lot of kids with ADHD. So I know that you said that the competition thing, Sumaya, I mean, it doesn't work for everyone, guys, because not everyone is that driven or competitive. I found that a reward system works very well because it activates something in the brain with the dopamine center. And even as an adult myself, I work on a rewards-based system if I have to do work that I don't want to do. So as an adult, I can reward myself with something, but as a child, we can reward them with 10 or 15 minutes of play, for instance. So let's do homework quickly, and we can do 45 minutes of homework and we do 10 or 15 minutes of play, because it's scientifically proven that a young brain can only function and concentrate and take information in for 45 minutes at a time. And after that, it needs a break. So that is where it's good. Right, so let's do 45 minutes, go and run, go and play, kick the ball, do ever what you want. So have a look at rewards, structures and routines that you can work in and see what works for your child. With the homework side, because I've got a child myself, it would have been a complete failure leaving her in a room, thinking that, you know, they'll do it or I'm busy and things like that. So we made, you said that, Anita, I made a proper personal workspace for her in the dining room across from her father, and it was work time. School is from there to there, but even with her being 15 years old, it was 45 minutes max, and then a 15-minute break. And you will not believe the routine that it created, but not just that, how nicely she fitted back into school, how pushing her to do that, and it was a struggle in the beginning, but at the end of the day, that stress of not getting all the work done and having to catch up eventually when they go back to school was taken away. When we take external stresses off of our children, they're going to perform better as well, because we forget them. We are, as the adults, are trying to maintain a sort of stable life with COVID, with everything that's going on, and we forget that our children are actually quite smart. So take their needs in consideration, give them structure, give them a reward system, give them a competition, and slowly but surely you'll see that once you've implemented those things, your children will react to it in a positive way. It's not every day is going to be perfect, but it will get better in the long term. You just have to stay firm, stick with it, carry on, carry on, carry on until it becomes a routine, because we have to rewire the brain. So there's my little bit of info on things that really does work and that we have implemented.
And it's very difficult during this sort of time. A lot of people are their mindset. Because remember, the problem is between your 2 ears, nowhere else. Okay. And it's your mind management. It's how you choose to see things. It's the meanings you give things. And a lot of people are focused on, because of what's going on what they can't do and what they don't have. And that's what creates you to be unresourceful, demotivated, okay, and just unresourceful, demotivated.
Empowered.
And what?
Disempowered.
That's it. There we go. So what we want to do, there we go. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to start focusing on what we can do, what you do have. Anita?
Can we help Bandile? He's asking about task completion in the workplace.
So? Okay, so Bandile, a lot of the time when we are bored and we're not stimulated and the task isn't stimulating enough, we focus on the process, we don't focus on the outcome. So that's when we procrastinate. So having, or a fear of failure, because we're so overwhelmed, because that's something we really do fear. But the most important thing is that you actually start focusing on the outcome. How you feel when the outcome, when you achieve what you want to. And then you have remember, visualization is very important, because when you create, your mind doesn't know something vividly imagined or real. So when you vividly imagine something, okay, you're creating a new neural pathway, and then your mind will know where to take you. So if you can start seeing things as in, what is the outcome? Clarity is power. So the more clear it is, the stronger the visualization is, that you're not going to worry about the process, okay? Because your focus is on the outcome. So the process makes it easy. So that's how I personally get through my boring tasks, is that I focus on how good I'm going to feel when I've achieved it. And then I make rules for myself. And I say to myself, okay, Tracy, you cannot, because I don't like invoicing.
Yeah.
So I say to myself, okay, Tracy, you cannot remove yourself from your desk. You cannot answer your phone. You cannot open an email. You cannot go to the toilet. You cannot get a cup of coffee until you've finished what you need to do. And I really stick to that. It's my rule, because I hate rules, and don't tell me what to do, because I'm oppositional defiance disorder, because I'm going to do the opposite. But because it's my own rule, I will stick to it. And that really serves me well.
I think the important thing, yeah, and I think the important thing that Jerry and Tracy are both talking about as well, whether it's the study skills or focusing on your work, accountability. And if you can't hold yourself accountable, we as coaches, we hold each other accountable all the time. Like, we literally are a very proactive team, but we also know when we procrastinate. So we have someone or the other from the team. Most of the time it's Tracy, who is accountable. So I have that one person, whether it's at work or not, just to have that accountability can help you also complete the task.
Yeah, we're so good when we've got a study buddy, or we've got somebody holding us. So we don't want to go to gym because we're too lazy. But if we have somebody who says, okay, I don't want to let them down, so I will go to gym and they'll be my gym buddy. And the reason I'll go, the motivation I'll use is because I don't want to disappoint them. It works. So you need to work with yourself.
Guys, accountability partners.
Sorry, Jerry?
Accountability partners.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
To the big thing with be the accountable partner. But it's not about nagging. It's about and then, like Tracy, I've got oppositional defiance disorder, and tell me what to do. Reward myself when I procrastinate.
I think
I will not get up anywhere else unless I finish what I needed to finish. But that is on the reward structure that I work on, and that works for me. But it's not going to work for everyone.
I think Anita's the right person to respond to Bandile's magazine.
Yes, I love it.
Oh, so vision board.
If you want to be, Trace, can you unmute Bandile?
Yes. Okay, Bandile, you're
Hi, Bandile.
Hi, how's it going?
We are currently doing vision board. We're doing vision board workshops at the Bell House, and I too am doing an online one. And I also have 100 tabs open. I've got Pinterest. It's chaos. So, but it's a really nice way because all the pictures. So with vision boards, it is so. So if you watch The Secret, I don't know if you have watched it.
The Law of Attraction.
I've heard of the book.
Oh,
I haven't watched the movie.
Watch that. So it's The Secret, and it's on Netflix. Please, if you're doing a vision board right now, please watch it. I think it's 1.5 hours, and it's everything to do with that visualization, the law of attraction. So it's the perfect time for you to watch it while you're doing your vision board. So what I've been doing is I've divided my board because it got chaotic for me as well. So I've divided it into different sections. So, and I've chunked it down. So I was like, okay, what are my irritations at the moment? Okay, I need to get my house organized. What does that look like? What does my organized space look like? Let me go and look for office ideas. So I'm doing it section by section. So I'm just categorizing it. So that's really helpful. So then I'm not just, oh, I like this, and oh, let me go look, oh, that's pretty. So I'm being very, but I've got themes. What really helps is if you divide it into themes. So work, travel, health, spirituality, relationships. Just categorize. And if you go on Pinterest or even on Google and you just Google vision board ideas, there are so many ways that you can, I mean, even the one we use, which is managing power, it's the 4 quadrants. So it's a circle divided into 4 quadrants. So you can take your page and just divide it into 4. So it's mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. And then you focus on your physical quadrant. Okay, what are my weights? What does that look like? What kind of body do I want? What shape do I want? What do I be feeding my physical? Do I want to win a marathon? Do I want to enter a marathon? And then you know what you're looking for. And it's so much easier now with the internet because then just type marathon and 100 pictures will come up, and then you put that image. So my advice is just to work in sections, work in your sections. So what are the things, what do you want? And what do you want to change? So get your goals. So a plain white piece of paper. So we divided, and we said health and fitness, finance, travel. So yeah, just divide it and then go by each theme. It's so much better than just looking randomly. But yes, definitely watch The Secret because as you're doing it, it's going to make so much sense. And then do it in sections. So I hope that helps.
Thank you, that helps a lot.
There's a comment from Cindy, and I'm sure this is like a confusing and difficult time, but what we do know about ADHD is that together with the medication, coaching is a definite plus. So all of the issues that you named, there's literally so many skills. So get in contact with Tracy. There's so much itself that it's going to be super exciting, that you're going to have so many aha moments going through the skills with her, that everything is literally going to start to make sense. And just from being able to understand something, that's already half the problem solved. So definitely get in contact with Tracy with all of the stuff that you mentioned in your comment. And everyone will agree. Together with the medication, coaching is something that's very important in this case.
Yeah, because you can't expect yourself to change if you don't understand yourself. So self-awareness is everything. Because as soon as you understand, you can then make changes. And the School of Life coaches, we focus on the skills, because nobody teaches you how to think. We just think. Okay. So there's schools for everything, but remember, your thoughts create your feelings, and your feelings create your behavior. And what we teach is that, so everything in life broken down is energy. Okay. So absolutely everything comes down to energy. So thought works in a quick and mobile form of energy. So you're going along life, and all of a sudden you hear a song on the radio, and it reminds you of your grandmother who's passed away. It's called a trigger. Immediately you start thinking, the thought comes into your mind of your grandmother, and you start thinking it. So the more you give it energy, thought is always looking to manifest into a feeling. So you give it more energy, and you're thinking about your grandmother, and you start singing the song, and then you start feeling sad, because now it's manifest into a feeling. And the more you start thinking and feeling, then you start crying. So what we need to do is mind, like I said to you, the problems between our two ears, mind management. So the thought comes into my mind, okay, can I replace it? Or can I rather choose to focus on the learning she taught me? So what we teach is think, feel, choose. So you have the power to choose your behavior if you are aware. And that's where the pause, you take a step back, that's between the stimuli and response, and you say, okay, so what do I choose my behavior to be? And that's where the coaching comes in, which is vital, as in we can help you, teach you the skills to pause, take a step back, don't react automatically, pause, and then respond. Because happiness is a mindset, and that's everything we're looking for in life. We're looking for happiness. And we spend most of our time thinking happiness is going to be a new car, a new job, a better house, travel, blah, 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 blah. Okay, but it's not. Those are temporary. So we spend a lot of our time chasing. We spend our time thinking, if I do this, I'm going to be happier. If I do that, I'm going to be happier. If this happens, I'm going to be happier. And that's not how it is. Happiness is in the here and the now. And that's another very powerful skill we teach, is mindfulness. Not living in the past, because the past can only teach you. You can only learn from the past. Not living in the future, because then we're anxious, and anxiety is rooted in the fear of the unknown, where we underestimate our ability to cope and we overestimate the danger. So we need to learn to come back to now. Because if all of you had to sit here right now, don't focus your attention on your past, don't focus your attention on the future. Right here, right now, in this moment, life is very good. It's amazing. And the only thing that stops it, as soon as we take our focus and we go back or we go forward. And that is a skill to develop. So the happiest of people have learned the skill, and they've learned to be present. So coaching teaches you all of these things, as in to think properly, which will create the right feelings, which will create the right choices for you. And remember, we make about 35,000 choices a day. How many of those choices are we making consciously? $60,000 thoughts we think a day. 85% are the same as yesterday, and about 90% of them are negative. But you don't do mind management, you don't do thought control. We don't spend time investing in this, and this is the most important thing you can invest in. Not a new house, not a new car, not a new relationship, not a new child, because that's temporary. It doesn't stay permanent here. Working on your mind is the best thing you can ever do. See, that was an ADHD moment. I went completely off somewhere.
We're getting a few questions about meds. So someone was asking about Vyvanse. I haven't taken Vyvanse. I think Valance, so I'm assuming, Martin, I'm assuming you're saying Vyvanse. Who's taking Vyvanse? Was that right? Martin, maybe, Trace, can you unmute Martin?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so Vyvanse is new in the country. It's still not approved. Yes. You're going to have through the Special Medicine Control Council. And there are some people who are, I've never tried it. It's very expensive, first and foremost. And remember, don't lose sight of the most important therapy for ADHD. And the most important therapy for ADHD is exercise. Exercise is the most important thing. So I've met parents who've come and brought me their ADHD children, and the parent is so ADHD, but he's managed or she's managed. And because why? They've been active sports players and exercised. So medication is a tool. Diet is a tool. Coaching is a tool. Okay. But exercise is the greatest tool. So what they like about the Vyvanse, where they use it in the States and everything, is that you don't have to take something for your anxiety because of all the side effects in that.
And then Odette was asking, sorry, Trace.
No, that's fine.
Sorry.
Yes.
Odette's asking why I'm changing between Ritalin and Concerta. So I have like a love-hate relationship with these stimulants. And it sometimes, so it's so funny, like when I coach, I don't really need to take a stimulant because I enjoy it so much, and coaching excites me and it stimulates me. So and it's so strange because I mean, that's what I do. And so it's funny that I don't really have to be medicated when I work because I enjoy it and then I hyper focus. But when I'm prepping for classes, when I'm sitting in my office and I've got to put a workshop together, that's when I take, because there'll be a noise outside and I'll be like, oh, who's that? Oh, there's the neighbor's dog. Oh, let me go take my dogs. Then we have a play date. And then it's so much, and that's ADHD. So I take it. Ritalin, I took for a while. I think when I started with you, Trace, I took Ritalin. And then for me, it's the appetite. So it was really affecting my appetite. So the loss of appetite for me was a problem. So then I changed to Concerta, and now I'm on Nucon. So I think it's the generic of Contramol. So Concerta. The reason I changed Concerta, yeah. So yes. Nucon is the same as Concerta. Hey?
Yeah.
Yes. So for me, it's finding, and I'm still trying to find, the stimulant that doesn't, I mean, I don't think you're going to find a stimulant that doesn't affect your appetite, but the Nucon for me has got the least side effects in terms of appetite. So yeah, I changed because I've got this, love-hate relationship with the stimulants, and it's, so that's why I chop and change, but it's okay. I mean, it works for me. And I think it's good to change. I think it's good to, if something's not working, and also you get used to something. So it's good to change, but yeah, it's important. Meds are super important with ADHD. Does that answer your question, Odette? Are you with us?
Yeah, she said yes.
Yes,
oh, okay. So
yes.
my internet's a bit slow, so there's a delay. Yeah.
Okay, then Morton says about the Contramol, but Contramol, Concerta, and Nucon, it's methylphenidate. So it's just the molecular structure that is different. So I'd say Contramol because I can't take Nucon, even though it is the same as Concerta because of side effects. So the Contramol works for me at the moment, but so just molecular structure is a little bit different, but it still falls under methylphenidate. All right, so your main ingredient will still stay the same with those three. And then I think somebody's asked if the groups are going to be every third Tuesday of the month, Trace?
Yeah, it's going to be. It will be the third Tuesday of every month. And then if you want to receive an invitation, just drop me your email address and also tell me what are the things you'd like us to cover that you're struggling with. Because we want these sessions to be helpful, like I said, and when you leave these meetings, you actually have a tool or a skill that you can immediately put into your life that can help you. So it must be, we want practical life skills for you.
Yeah. And then Colin asked if there are any other ADHD support groups in SA or online, and unfortunately, no. I think all of us that struggled with ADHD before we found Tracy have done numerous researches, and I actually saw a group advertised for the Pretoria area, but as far as we are aware, we are the first to do this. You guys just need to let us know for future. Today was just like a little bit of get to know each other. For future, whatever you have got on your mind that we can focus on, and then we can have a look at one thing at a time and go deep and cover the whole thing instead of jumping a little bit up and down. Does anyone find their medicine loses potency and need to take a high dose? Yes, that does unfortunately happen. Once again, like Tracy said as well, we're not doctors, so you'll have to discuss that with the psychiatrist. But it does happen because your body builds up a resistance, and they'll take you up to your max dosages based on your body weight. And if after that you feel that the potency is still not the same, they will change you over to something else. Not everything works for everybody, guys. Even if you have to fight or you feel that, you know, you've bugged your doctor too much, don't think like that. They are there to help. And sometimes it takes a couple of tries to find the right medication that works for you. There's a lot more medications out there, especially with like Dr. Jeeva and so forth, that might not be considered the technical ones to be used for ADHD, but there's a lot that works for people like Wellbutrin and your Strateras and the things like that. So don't give up. Keep on trying, and if you're not happy with your doctor, please change to another doctor. Medication and all these other tools, at the end of the day, that is what we are there to help you guys with, so that we can overcome and get you the skills that you need.
Okay, so how long has this group been running? So I was running an ADHD support group before COVID for a few years. It was on the first Wednesday of every month, and then COVID hit and I stopped. And I was doing some, as a School of Life coaches, we were doing some, I can't remember, it was every day, Sumaya?
Yeah.
We were doing it every day for a while. I think for like 4 weeks when COVID happened, we were doing like an hour or half an hour a day. But I just realized with COVID now, still we're going to go online, because it's, even if we just have one or two of you, okay, that's.
I think if Tracy can just put up her website address, all of the details are there, because there's literally very focused, there's different skills, different areas of concerns that you guys can just browse and see, and then obviously email your interest to her. She has an entire online platform, because obviously with one-on-one sessions, we've had to reduce with COVID. So we've taken everything online, and yeah, you guys can just visit the website and all the information is there.
Yeah, there's a chat box on the website, so just drop us a chat and we can answer your questions. But yeah, to close off, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you in a month's time. I will send out invites, and just remember to focus your attention on what you can do and what you do have, because that's exactly where your happiness is going to come from. So from me and the School of Life coaches, thank you very much. God bless. Be safe, and hope to see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks everyone.
Trace. Thanks, coaches.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.